It's a no dilly, no dally zone. And of course, being a Monday, everything just kind of flies around all over the place. And the graphics don't agree with you. But there we go. All right. So, Abe, once again, you got other things to do. Why are we talking to you like now?
Well, I am hosting from 9 to 11 on 92.9 The Game. So had to step in a smidge early. A little bit of double duty on a Monday morning. But I couldn't skip out because we got to talk about what we saw on Saturday afternoon. So should I just start, or do you want to feed me one question?
No. Go
Well,
ahead.
look, I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit because it was, and I know they called it one thing, and then Ronnie Dyler referred to it as another thing. But we were talking last week here, John, about some of the adjustments that needed to be made, something that needed to be tried. And I said, look, I know it's boring. I know it's old school, but just go 4-4-2 with Jay on one side and Saba on the other. And that's ultimately what it kind of settled into. I know they, for a while, called it a 4-2-3-1. But in postgame, I know Ronnie Dyla did refer to it a little bit as a 4-4-2. So we saw this team try and make adjustments, try and take some steps to get something better out of their personnel. And for 30 minutes, it worked. And you look great. And for whatever reason, a couple minutes after you take a lead, a couple minutes after you score a goal, it just fell apart. And what was on the front foot was now on the back foot. And Nashville had the better of it for their essentially a straight hour, split up by the halftime whistle, and eventually they found a goal. And quite frankly, thankfully, with Guza back there, it wasn't more than one goal. This was a game that you ultimately very easily could have lost. I counted 3 where I'm like, man, not every keeper in the MLS is making that save. And so I think Ronnie Dyla admitted after the fact, hey, like, this was as good a result as you could probably hope for based on the performance, was a draw. And that's what we have to settle on. We're going to take a couple positives out of it. And that's probably because of just how low things had been, right? I mean, you end the scoreless streak. You're able to put one home. You do get a point at home against a team that's top 5 in the Eastern Conference. And so you'll take that and try to build off of it. But ultimately, it's still not a situation where the team is at the level they need to be at. This is a game you could have won for a variety of reasons. And you've got to find a way to extend dominance beyond a half hour. And that's now the next question that's going to be asked. Why did it work for 30 minutes and then it went away? And so is that a formation thing where they figured you out and that formation only works for 20 minutes? We've seen it work in stretches of games in the second half for 20 minutes, right? When they drop Moranchuk and move Miggy centrally and blah, blah, blah. So, all right, you found something that maybe you can get a little boost from your players on. Is it something that can only be a boost for a half hour, or can you get 70 minutes of dominance, 80 minutes, or a full 90? If you can, maybe now we're starting to talk about something, but 30 minutes against good teams in the Eastern or Western Conference is just not going to be enough to get 3 points even at home.
Second half numbers, just to give you an idea. And our friends at SofaScore, they have the momentum chart or whatever you want to call it. And there were only 5 moments in the second half where Atlanta United had the momentum versus Nashville. And it literally was like this. You have an uptick of green, and you've got a lot of blue. Then you've got another uptick and a lot of blue, and then Atlanta United at the end. Second half numbers, just to let you know. 74% possession for Nashville in the second half. XG, and I know that once again, the only G that matters to you is the X-Abe, which is 1 for Nashville, where that's concerned. 1.16 in the XGs. 9 total shots for Nashville compared to 2 for Atlanta United in the second 45. Brad, you said, came up big. He had 4 saves on the day. And they almost had 3 times as many passes trying to chase after that equalizer, and you just felt with Nashville having the control that they had, that goal was inevitable. They had control of the match, but the goal itself was inevitable because you were sitting there and you're basically chasing after them, not asserting what you were doing in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, and it doesn't even have to be Nashville. Like, I just don't think you can let any team. I mean, what was it? It was almost 60% possession. And a lot of that was in your half coming forward. And look, teams and players, individuals are too good, and Nashville has players that are too good. They're going to score if you let them knock on the door that many times. Again, you go back and look at it in the second half. If it's not for Brad, you're not getting even a point in this game. And that's just the bottom line of it. And so you've got to figure out what broke down and why. And the shots on goal, that has to, you gotta I don't know if you need to, again, we talked about this a while ago. I don't need you to take shots from deeper out and just kind of try and crack open the defense and extend them a little bit or what. But there was just no threat at all from Atlanta United after the one goal that they did score. And the frustrating part is, it's not like the one goal they did score was the only time they threatened in the first 30 minutes, in the first 20 minutes. I mean, that game probably could have been 2 or 3-0 Atlanta United in the first 30 minutes with a slightly different touch here or a slightly different pass there. There were chances. It was real domination for 30 minutes. And you're sitting here and saying, oh, man, look at this. Like, maybe this formation's working, maybe this, that, and then it just fell apart. So it's just frustrating. But at the same time, I mean, John, coming off the 2 performances on the road that you would just come off of, and I know the players and Ronnie Dyla they're not celebrating a point at home, but they're also not going to kill themselves for it. And I don't think we should either. It's frustrating. It's not what you maybe could have or should have gotten. But it's also not nothing in a moment where this team needed not nothing. They needed a little step forward, a little bit of momentum. It would have been nice to have a big step forward and a lot of momentum. That's not all we got. We had a little bit of momentum, and so we'll have to take that and try and build off it and head back on the road to Chicago on Saturday.
Yeah, and hope that you can do what Nashville did to Chicago, because Chicago won't have their number 1 keeper, because Chris Brady had a moment of walkabout where he just decided to kind of go in studs up on a tackle. So you're going to have, I think, Jonathan Gall in net. You're going to have your second string keeper in net, and that gives you an opportunity to go chasing on the road. When it comes to individual performances, did the tweak of the formation, who did you get to keep an eye on, sit there and go, okay, this works for player X or anything like that? Who stood out for you back on the weekend?
Yeah, I certainly think Jay Fortune stood out on the left side, and I thought he was dangerous. I thought at times you saw him step into the middle to defend. I thought in times you saw him try and extend the play out wide, and I thought he looked very good. Another guy I thought looked very good, not because of the formation, just the performance. I thought Luis Abram had a very good game as well. And the one question, maybe not criticism, but more asking is just, I thought Alexei Miranchuk largely disappeared in this match. And I know he's playing further back. He's probably being asked a little bit to play with a defensive mindset more than he would have been had he been further up in the formation. But I did not see much from him. And this is a guy, whether you believe Ronnie Dyla or not, 3 weeks ago was called the maestro. And it just felt like he disappeared in this match. The other concern is Mateus Click. When he picks up a first half yellow, you got to get him off the field, because there's just no way he's playing 45 in the second half without picking up a second yellow. And I think there was like a couple of times where he probably goes in differently in the second half if he doesn't sit on a yellow. And even still, we're like, oh man, how bad is this going to be? He got away with it, and they got him off the field relatively early in that second half. But when that guy picks up a yellow early, it's just dangerous, because he can't be himself, and it's only a matter of time till you drop to 10 men if you keep him in the match.
Yeah, just to break everything down with Miranchuk's numbers, played the full 90, 37 of 48 passing at 77%, had the 1 key pass, the one cross, 3 of 4 on long balls, 1 of 4 on the ground duels. You had 5 clearances defensively for Alexei in the matchup, 4 picks, a tackle, and 1 dribble passed. So to your point about playing deeper, you have more defensive numbers than you're used to seeing in bulk from Alexei Miranchuk.
Yeah, and it's just you have to remember what he was brought in here to do and what this offseason was discussed about. And the talent around him is going to unlock him, right? Latte Loth and Saba and Mickey. And he's not even in a position anymore to really play into their strengths, to
But
feed them.
Is that on him, or is that on the individuals that he's trying to connect with?
It's both. But at this point, it's about what you brought him in here to do and what he's now being asked to do. And it's just a matter of, do we have to readjust your mindset in regards to him? And I think you kind of have to. I just don't think that you're looking at him. The question I have to ask, and look, it's a tough discussion because contracts and designations are what they are.
Yeah.
Is the designated player tag deeper into the field worth a guy versus another guy who's not on that tag? And I think that's the discussion you kind of have to have. I mean, how much would you lose or gain if it was Sleesh and Click and he doesn't have that DP tag taking off a defensive midfielder? And I think that's part of the discussion. It's probably not something that you're really going to adjust right now in season. But moving forward, I mean, how many teams, John, have a designated player as a defensive midfielder? It just doesn't happen that much. And I don't know if I'd feel comfortable really with Atlanta United having one as a defensive midfielder. So if you can adjust contracts and figure that out, then fine. If you have to move on because he's not doing what he was expected to do in terms of the role and responsibility, I understand that as well.
See, now you've given me homework. I literally have here now defensive midfielder at DP, and so now I have homework once you're actually doing more than one thing at a time. Yeah, and the reason that I asked the question, I guess, is it's the Atlanta United equivalent of the chicken and egg argument.
Of course.
So which came first? Is it Alexei having to try and adjust to those around him, or those around him trying to adjust to Alexei? And that's why I ask you that question, because if you have Alexei, who is brought in to be that point guard that you're looking for, and no one around you is hitting shots, is that on the point guard because he's not making the passes and somebody's not hitting from 15 or from the elbow, or is it on the individuals? Who is it on the point guard for not getting you the pass at the right time? That's why.
Yeah, but the question I would ask is by moving Miranchuk, you're presuming that they're never going to start hitting shots. And I think that he should have been given more time. And again, you had to change something, right? It wasn't working. I do think originally it was on the players around him. And I don't care what Ronnie Dyla says about roles. I think there was too much freedom. I think there was way too much movement along the top. And Miranchuk had an incredibly difficult time determining where his attacking members were going to be and what run they were going to take. I think that comes from the idea that they were somewhat positionless, no matter what sort of freedom or role you think you've given them. It just wasn't. There were not enough limitations on guys. It doesn't mean they can't cross over or can't do this, but I just thought it was made incredibly difficult for Miranchuk in the beginning. Would they have eventually figured it out? Maybe. Potentially not. And so you obviously change the role, change the responsibility. And yeah, I don't think it's necessarily on him. But that's not the discussion anymore. Who's to blame for him not being a maestro, not leading the league in assists, not this or that? That's now irrelevant to me. The discussion you need to have, if you're Chris Henderson, if you're Garth Lagerwey, if you're Ronnie Dyla, is can a DP take up a defensive midfielder spot? Is there enough value in that role? So I don't disagree with the discussion you're having.
Yeah.
I think it's probably an accurate one, but I also think it's irrelevant from the business side of how a soccer team in the MLS needs to run. You can't waste a DP spot on not a prime position. I think this is a team that has plenty of depth in the defensive midfielder if they needed to. And so you got to see if you're getting the value out of a DP that you're required to get in this league to have success.
All right. So what are you doing at the same time that you're talking to me?
We are on 92.9 The Game. We're on the Steakhouse, myself and Drew Butler. And We'll talk a little bit of Atlanta United. Obviously, again, based on how bad it's been, this is a little upturn. This is a little glimmer. Peeking through the blinds, a little bit of sunlight. But you got to build off of it now, and you've got to find a way to make 30 minutes more like 60 or 70 or 80 minutes. You just can't play a good half hour. It needs to be more than that, and that's the new task. If they believe that this formation has given them and brought them what they need to see, they now need to find a way to make it what they need to see for longer than what it was against Nashville.
Abe and son of Butthead on the steakhouse. That's a lineup for you. Abe, son of Butthead. Get out of here. We'll see you next week.
You got it. Thanks, John.
You think you have things all figured out when it comes to technology, and you forget to punch buttons and stuff. Thanks to Abe for dropping by, considering that Abe is on the air with himself and Drew Butler right now. So good morning, everybody. Glad you're here. It's a Reaction Monday, so lay out your reactions from what happened on the weekend. I know that frustration is a part of it. We'll talk through it. And we will hear from Jay Fortune, and we will also hear from Ronnie Dyla. We will also hear the moment of the match, which attached two names to Atlanta United ladders when it comes to statistics, when it comes to Miguel Almiron and Brooks Lennon. So now Brooks is the all-time assist leader. Miggy is now number 2 in goals for Atlanta United. So we'll go through those. We'll go through the goal of the match. We'll go through the stats. We'll go through the numbers. We'll go through anything that's on your mind as we are here on yet another frustrating Reaction Monday. Like I said, I went through the numbers with Abe, and I want to try something here. And this is me and technology. So I'm warning you now, and we'll get into opening kickoff in just a little bit. And we got all that stuff to talk about. We've got national team stuff to kind of get into a little bit. Bart's work has gotten in the way, so I get to be Bart, or at least I get to be SoccerForUSPod and discussing the next couple of months and cards and calls and things like that. So USM&T's got to work on things. They're about a month out, and so Mauricio Pochettino has some questions. We'll get into those questions coming up in a bit. We got news this morning, Trent Alexander-Arnold news, the CAS hearing involving Club Leon. We'll get into all those kinds of things, and Wither LA Galaxy. All those kinds of things coming up this morning. But once again, lay it all out for me. Let me know what's on your mind. And just like I said, I always like to think of Monday and Tuesday as just get it out of your system, because I don't want – and this is coming from someone, for those of you that do not know, this is coming from someone who has spent 2 years in therapy. And it was, in looking back on it, in retrospect, it was some of the best things that ever happened, because I now think of things almost like a defensive driving course. At the time, I was like, why am I here? But now looking back on it in retrospect, it gives an added perspective to things. And so I've always wanted to have the mindset here early in the week that I don't want anyone who is a part of the family here at SDH, doesn't matter in what capacity, just get it off your chest, because I don't want that negativity to stay. So that's what Monday and Tuesday traditionally are. Yes, we go through all the news and things, but I want to know what's on your mind, and I want you to get it off your chest so it doesn't linger. And I mean that in the most genuine way possible. So, like I said, get it off your chest. Let's talk through it and have Reaction Monday and even Reaction Tuesday be what they are. So I'm going to try something with technology, and it was a point that I made with Abe. And so here we go. I'm going to see if this works the way that I'm looking for it to work. And there's a thing here that we actually can do. And let me see if it actually is going to work. Did it reset itself? I think it might have. So let me double check and see. Yeah, it reset itself. So I'm going to have to do this quickly so it doesn't neutralize itself. All right. So here is what I'm trying to share a screen. And once again, we're always talking about technology here. So here we go. Let me share this. And let me see if this has in fact worked other than looking at the ad that you're supposed to skip. So let me skip the ad so you can kind of see where I'm going here. Traditionally, you see how I want to do things with SofaScore, and I want you to look like right in here. This is what I was discussing with Abe as I sit here and move this cursor and try not to get everybody dizzy. So here was the moments of control with our friends from SofaScore. Atlanta, obviously the home team there in like the electric green. They're in like that Kelly green. Here is Atlanta United in control, and this goes to the goal in and of itself, and then another 5 minutes passed. There was only one other moment in the first 45 where, if you use the SofaScore metric, that Atlanta United was in control of the match right there. Then you see a lot of blue from that moment forward, and then, of course, Atlanta United trying to chase after a game winner late when Nashville was just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. But this is me attempting to share a screen, but you see where Atlanta United's in control basically 35 minutes, and then pretty much the rest of the match it's Nashville. So that that was what we were alluding to when it came to all of the activity that was there, and I'm hoping that worked, and I'm hoping that I didn't surprise you, first and foremost, but I'm hoping that that piece of technology actually did work. So there you go. Then to another couple of points that were made. Well, first off, let me say hi to everybody. So good morning, Four Card. Morning, Tommy. Morning, Emilio. And once again, this is the in general saying hi to everybody, even though I know that there are only some of you that have that contribute in the Twitch pitch. So good morning, David. Let's see. And so that's folks in the Twitch pitch at the moment. So to Abe's points, and I know that this is kind of like, backseat driving a little bit here, but to Abe's points, morning, Dell. So I did the homework while we were talking through the argument about DPs. Here's the list of DPs, and I think if I'm looking at it correctly, I think there's only 3 that are of a defensive posture, and then we can get into the idea of sixes, defensive mids, whatever. Miggy Latilat Miranchuk, Bukhari Uzuni, Brandon Vasquez, Liel Abada Zaha, Bamba, Hugo Kuipers, Denke and Evander, Cabral Mihailovic and Rafa Navarro, Nagby Diego Rossi, Lucho Acosta, Peter Musa, Benteke. Mateus Click is listed as a DP in DC. He is not listed as one here. Artur Ponce, Manu Garcia, Dejan Joveljic, Paintsel Peckinpouge, Buwanga Giroud and Cengiz Under, Jordi Alba, Busquets, Messi, Pereira Yaboa, Vrioni, Mukhtar Suraj, Walker Zimmerman, Shankalai Carlos Heel, Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, Forsberg, Talos Magno and Thiago Martins, Luis Muriel, Ojeda, Pasalic, Damiani Gazdag Ua, Da Costa Jonathan Rodriguez, Diego Gonçalves and RSL, Dreyer, Chucky Lozano, Irango Espinosa Hernan Lopez, De La Vega, Morris Rusnak, Hartel, Klaus, Bernardeschi, Insigne, Kubas, and Gauld. So if my math is right, 3 from a defensive listing / posture. Jordi Alba, Walker Zimmerman, and hang on, who was the third? Oh, Thiago Martins. So 3 DPs in defensive listings of players. And then you look at defensive duties and such, possibly Kubas, maybe Hernan Lopez, maybe Gonçalves. So that's another 3. Forsberg definitely not. Mukhtar definitely not. Joaquin Pereira definitely not. Sergi Busquets, 3.5. Let's see. So what you're looking at is basically 7-ish, 6 or 7 of the designated players in Major League Soccer either are defensive meaning listed as defensemen or have defensive postures and positions more than they are offensive. So 6 or 7, say, if you include Alba and Busquets. But Alba, even though he's a left back and listed as a defender, he'll run forward and not really care. And Sergi Busquets, in turn, tries to play a little bit more deeper. So maybe they count as two halves. So that's that. To answer Abe's question, that's kind of where we are. 6 or 7, say, max, depending on duties. And that's your DP rundown for the 2025 season. And formationally, just to run through the numbers, just to go through what it looked like in the match. Once again, your lineups, and we'll get into we got into the stats, specifically the ones that matter, the fact you only scored the 1 goal, and the fact that you only had, I think it was literally possession was 3-1 after the 30th minute. I think it was 74% possession, and it was 9 shots to 2 for Nashville over Atlanta. Brad in net, left to right, Amador, Abram, Derek Williams, Brooks Lennon. Brooks had the highest rating on the day at a 7.4. Miranchuk and Klik, Saba, Miggy, Jay, and Latte Lot. We'll hear from Jay Fortune coming up in a bit. And to go through the numbers, we mentioned Luis Abram. Luis Abram, once again, not really. He is not the most vocal sort, but he's going to give you 100%. And you'll look at it and you go, oh, that's what the numbers were. So for Luis, 12 clearances on the day. 12. That is a number that I have not seen in a long time be that high for a defender. I have not seen a number that high. 12 clearances. Now that I think about it, that's insane. 12 clearances on the day for Luis Abram. That is ridiculous. 41 of 45 passing at 91%, 4 of 8 on long balls, but 12 clearances for Luis Abram. And once again, when you are trying to defend, you know that goal probably was coming for quite some time for Nashville. But 12 clearances, that is, I don't know what the Atlanta United record is, but that's got to be up there. 12 clearances for an individual. Then Brooks Lennon on the day. Once again, Brooks had an assist to become the number 1 assist person in Atlanta United history. So Brooks had the assist, 2 clearances, 2 total tackles, 3 of 5 on his ground duels, 32 of 38 passing, 1 key pass, 3 of 4 on crosses, 1 for 2 on long balls, 1 big chance created, 1 shot off target. Then I know that Ronnie did allude to it as a 4-4-2. But obviously, if you look at it, I mean, I didn't necessarily, and this is what we always say, this is your warning for every match. Just because you see a graphic doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be. It is a graphic that is put up there looking at tendencies and formational ideas. Once the whistle's blown and the ball is kicked, all bets are off. So if you had it as a 4-2-3-1, you're not wrong. If Ronnie alludes to it at times as a 4-4-2, especially coming back and playing defensively, then once again, it's just the idea of formations. It's where folks are at any given moment. So 4-2-3-1 under normal construct. You had Klik and Miranchuk as your 2 6s. And that's what they are. They're 2 6s. It's not one number or another number. It is 2 6s. And we'll get into Mateus Klik in a bit. Your 3, obviously, Jay. And once again, Jay does address this with Mike Conti coming up in a bit. Jay had a 7.2. Miggy had a 7.3 with a yellow late. Saba had a 6.4. And Latte Lot a 6.7. We mentioned Alexi's numbers. Most of those defensive categories you're not used to seeing, but once again, you see him contributing defensively in this setup, and he's having to do other things. So those were all those other categories where he registered an action on the weekend. So Mateus Klik, 67 minutes, 32 of 36 passing, 3 of 5 on long balls, 1 a ground duel on the day. was fouled once, had an interception, a total tackle, and a dribble pass. So, and this kind of, I guess, blends into what would be the discussion in hour number 2. In this particular matchup with Sergi Boyko, once again, you have a situation where Mateus Click and Nashville in general, you know what Hani Mukhtar is going to do when he is in the attacking third. He is going to try and draw a call. I'm not going to say draw a foul, because consistently, and Sam Surridge also has been seen to do this, that you have Hani Mukhtar attempting to draw a call, and then when you have him do it and others do it, then you end up with a lightning round card for Mateus Click. Yet at the same time, once again, we talk about iniquity, where Atlanta United is trying to get out of the middle third and get into the attacking third. Same thing happens from a Nashville perspective, where they have a foul called, or a foul should have been called, and a card should have been given, but it was not. So that's the soapbox for the day. So Mateus Click, and to Abe's point, Mateus Click was taken out of what you would have liked to have seen from his game because of that early yellow. And then he had to be protected in defensive sets and things like that, where, okay, you don't want him to get that second yellow. So he's having to act a little differently because of the early yellow given, which should have been given in return to Nashville midfielders and defenders, but was not. So consistency, once again, is a construct, and a loose construct at that. So Click finishes with a 6.6 and a yellow. Miggy on the day with the yellow card. And it was, late, by the way, and you're trying to stop a rush to have Nashville try and get that second goal on the board. 85 minutes, 16 of 18 passing, 89%. One long ball, 2 shots on target, 1 of 2 on the dribble, 6 of 11 on his ground duels. He was fouled twice, had 3 total tackles on the day. But Miggy, once again, 16 of 18 in passing. 16 of 18 from Miguel Almiron. Saba on the day, 12 of 15 passing. So I'm gonna get my math out here. So, all right. So Miggy, 16 of 18 passing. Saba, 12 of 15 passing at 80%. Had the 1 cross and had the 1 ground duel, 1 clearance, and a total tackle. Then Jay, 20 of 27. So 28 of 33 passing for Saba and Miggy. And then Jay was 20 of 27, so that gets you to 48 of 60. Where Jay has almost as many pass attempts as both Miggy and Saba combined. Because your point guard is having to play a little deeper. And so it's an extra added stage to all of this. So Jay on the day had the 1 shot off target, 5 of 7 on his ground duels, had the 1 successful dribble, 6 of 8 in the overall, was fouled once, 1 clearance, 2 picks, 3 total tackles, and a dribble pass. And to the point about it being a 4-4-2, then, once again, Jay coming back, right wing coming back. And so, honestly, Miggy's it's more like a 4-4-1-1, where Miggy is a second striker. So you have your wingers drift back, and then you're trying to service forward. Miggy playing behind Latte Lot. So 4-4-1-1, 4, so you're looking maybe at a 4, as I sit here and try and process it, it was probably looking more like a 4-4-1-1 with Miggy playing in behind Latte Lot, and I think that was where you were having a little bit more success. So, but the process of having your point guard having to go through an extra set of lines and an extra set of defense to try to get things going. That's what Miranchuk was facing, I think, against Nashville defensively. And then Latte Lot on the day, 85 minutes, 13 of 18, 72 passing. So 4 of 7 on the ground duels, had the one long ball, offside once, fouled once, 1 pick and 2 total tackles. So that's what so that's what you're staring at. All right, so that's the numbers, and I think I actually might have screen shared successfully, so we'll see. But Brad had a 7.2 on the day. We mentioned all the saves that he had. He had 4 saves. Second half, he was very busy. Goals prevented, I guess that's an GP, an XGP. It was a quarter of a goal. Had a high claim, 3 saves inside the box, 18 of 23 passing, 7 of 12 on his long balls on the outlets. So that's what you were looking at statistically on the day. We mentioned Jay Fortune and Jay's day. So here is the conversation that Mike had with Jay after the match, once again, courtesy of the Full-Time Report and 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Once again, the conversation of Mike Conti and Jay Fortune after the match.
Jay, I'm tired just looking at you because you put in a tremendous amount of work today. What was your reaction when you found out you would be starting on left wing?
Done it a few times or in the past. And for me, growing up, my dad focused on getting me a proper education in football, being able to play multiple positions. And I know I can do it. The staff is aware that I can do it. It's done it in the past. So just trying to play football the way I know how to do it. And no matter the position, a few things are the same, a few things are different, but just trying to enjoy it while I'm out there.
You worked tremendously hard, and I thought you did an excellent job on Hani Mukhtar today. Can you give me an evaluation of your play defensively?
Big focus for me the last few weeks was the defensive side of the game. I know going forward, I'm able to help the team on the ball, progress the ball, whether it's passing, dribbling, whatever the case is, but, wanted to put in a little bit more focus defensively, and I think going forward this season, if I'm able to put the two together, then I'm able to help the team tremendously. So for me, just trying to build on days like today and just keep trying to push forward.
From the perspective of the overall match, not just your play, what was the biggest difference between the first half and the second half as you saw it?
First half, I think, especially the first 35, 40 minutes, we were a little bit more aggressive. I think after we got the goal, part of it kind of protect the lead a little bit, which I think obviously you want to do, but at the same time you don't want to bring pressure onto yourself because it gives the team opportunities to score. So I think trying to find ways to keep that constant pressure on other teams for longer periods is key. And we know there's going to be periods when we're defending and we're not going to have the ball, but trying to limit those and keep the ball as much as possible.
Is the team pleased with the result? It's a point against a good team. That's the glass half full. Are you pleased with the result?
You always want to find the positives and stuff. I think we would have liked to win. Everybody in this locker room wants to win games. But I think with how the last few weeks has been, you have to take the positive side of it, which is there is a point, and build on it against a good team and try and carry it to next week to try.
Jay Fortune with Mike Conti after the match, 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, and you can catch the entire Full-Time Report once again on the Off the Woodwork podcast section of 92.9 The Game and 92.9thegame.com and the Odyssey app. Let's hear from Ronnie Dyla. And once again, this is after the match and Ronnie's first couple of questions and first thoughts, and we'll roll through what Ronnie had to say, and then we will come back on the other side, and we will roll through what Ronnie had to say. So here's Ronnie, and then we'll go through and we'll roll through what Ronnie said after we hear from Ronnie Dyla once again. This is after the match and the 1-1 draw with Nashville, courtesy of Atlanta United, their own selves.
That's something we just have to keep on working with, but I believe then that we have to look at what we do when we are good and try to get this period longer, because then we are a good football team. But what we did, we fight to the end. We had a couple of half opportunities in the end of it. I think also when Edwin come on, he offensively he attacked space. Jamal won some couple of good headers. But in the end, we didn't deserve to win because they had their chances in the second half. They didn't have anything in the first, but in the second was 2-3 big chances and big saves by Brad.
Coach, you've been saying for the last month that remaining positive is how you're going to get out of this. You picked up a point today, so is that something you're going to go back into talking about? Like, hey, guys, we got something.
Yes, it could be worse. It's actually just the truth. But again, we are guys to compete, and we like at home to win and to play well. And I think again we have to accept the level we are in right now, and then work from there, because it's too much up and down inside the game, and that has been the whole season almost. It's not only this game. I can't see one game that we have been really switch on from first to the 90 minutes. So that's something we have to learn from each other, that like how we manage the team best to get more stable long periods with good play, and at the same time acknowledge that our best level is good, and that's where we just have to have more often and longer.
Ronnie, you mentioned the team is being passive. What do you think this is happening? You think it's something physical or something mental, like motivation-wise? Because you see it up from the field.
It's nothing about motivation, because then we were starting really poor, and we will see people that don't do the job. And it's more about that we look like get a little bit empty of energy after a while. If that is physical or it's mental, it's very difficult to say. We try to do something about both things, but we lose the aggression, and we get passive, and then we get very low in 4-4-2 against a team that is positional and are used to play and like to play in that way. But we kept them away in the first half, especially of creating anything almost. But we want to be them, like they were in the second half. We want to be them. That's where we have to aim for to get. But they won 7-2 last week. They are a good team also. We have to say that at the same time, and we take something from them. But we are, as a club and as a team, we are not happy with only 1 point. We want to beat.
Ronnie Dyla after the match, once again, courtesy of Atlanta United. And you lose the aggression. You lose the aggression that you had in the first 30. You turn passive, and that was the comment about the 4-4-2 is what you were looking at there. And so 4-4-1-1, 4-4-2. Like I said, I think Miggy playing behind ATLUTD is that second striker, and giving him the space to create, where you drop your wingers, and I'll use that in air quotes, and that's $1. You drop them back, and so it's the midfield being what it was. Then you're dropping Saba back as a bit of a winger on the side, Jay as a winger on the side, and then they get to work into that space. But you're giving Miggy the space to create behind ATLUTD, and everything gets to be fed. But you also have that extra layer that you've got to get to and get through if you're going to be Miranchuk, and you're going to be feeding forward to try and get opportunities for Atlanta United. So, obviously, not happy with it. And yes, you got a point, but it's still, trying to gain and push through all of the things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. The competitive stress element part of it that Greg gets to. You're afraid to make mistakes. You have a lead at 1-0. You're trying to get to the half, but you end up with that click yellow in that first half moment. So then, once again, how do you navigate trying to be careful and get to the half? Stage number one. So naturally, trying to be a little more, if you want to use the word conservative, we'll use that word. But basically, after the click yellow, you're trying to get to the half. And that was the thought in my head. It's like, okay, get to the half, get to the half, get to the half, and try not to. And you knew that Nashville was going to be chasing after Mateus Clicker. They should have been in offense. You should have been in offense in that case. And then we mentioned Click's numbers and trying to navigate the minutes and make sure that, once again, he can still do his job somewhat offensively when asked, but you don't want to get him in trouble and pick up that second yellow and have to force to play the rest of the match, however long that was going to be, with 10. So a couple of other things in there, Ronnie Dyla mentioning if they were not knowing if it was mentally tired, physically tired, what have you. And I still think a lot of it just comes to the idea of, once again, after what had happened the 2 previous weeks, you get that lead once again. So maybe we should go ahead and for the sake of context, here's how the lead happened. I'm going to put my headphones over because it has to be really loud. Once again, here's the goal from Miggy, 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app.
With Saba overlapping, he goes to him on the near touchline. Saba now dribbles centrally and passes to Almiron. Drop back to Baranchuk. Fired ahead to Amador now, left corner of the 18. Pedro with a cross to the back post, punched by Willis, out to Lennon, who traps and shoots. Score! Deflected into the net by Miguel Almiron. If it stands, and Nashville's got an offside plea going here. If it stands, Atlanta United.
So there's your goal. Once again, courtesy of 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app. So now Miggy, once again, is second goal scored in Atlanta United history, 24. And now Brooks is first in assists for Atlanta United in team history with 40. So that's where we are with your numbers and your goal. So you're there, and Ronnie mentions losing aggression. Ronnie mentions being passive. And I still think, like, we don't know what's going on in players' minds, especially after you lose the way that you do 2 straight matches. Then you end up with a lead at home, and you're trying not to mess that up. And so if we look at it from the mental aspect here for a second, not formationally, not personality, not anything, just the mental aspect, that if you are facing what you faced over the last couple of weeks, and you have the matchup that you have, you get that goal. You've got a lead. Then if you look at it, I think that there is at least a little bit of the idea of, okay, let's not blank this up. And so then you do become more careful, and that's the word I'm choosing, in your actions. You're trying to, and instead of being what Ronnie and the staff, I think, want you to be as an athlete out there going up against it, they want you to have the trust. They want you to have the fun. They want you to have the belief. They want you to have all of those things. But in all of that stuff that's in the back of your mind from the last couple of weeks, you know, that dude on your shoulder is always going to be there. So it's a matter of, and this is what you're facing in this situation. You have individuals who are still looking over their shoulders, even in the situation in front of them, which is a positive. And it's almost like the, you know, when is it going to drop? When's that other shoe going to drop kind of a thing? You may be confident, but it's something that has to grow. And trying to put all of the negative of the last couple of weeks behind you, considering how bad it was, and considering the expectations that you have not only on yourself, but that are put upon you by the club and everybody else. Those are the things that you still have to face every single time out. You had a lead, and you had in the first half, past tense, not talking about the equalizer. But you had a lead at the time. Let's take it 45 at a time. You had a lead in the first half. Then you get the yellow. You're just trying to get to the half. That I understand. Then possession being what it was as one of the telltale signs of the second 45. You could sense that the goal from Nashville was coming just because of the continued push that they were having, and Atlanta United having to defend to the point to where, like I said, Luis Abram had 12 clearances on the day. But in your mind, and this is for every person, it comes out differently, and it's processed differently. You got that 1-0 lead. You're trying to hang on to it. And you're trying to do whatever it is in your mind that you feel you need to do to hang on to it. But still, over the shoulder is that black cloud. And so this is what they're having to navigate here in all of this. I'm just talking the mental aspect, and I'm just addressing that. You're having to navigate the past in the present tense. Try to figure out how to do what you know you can do and push through and continue to be successful. And let me know if this is making any sense. Because I'm trying to process it almost in real time as I'm walking through the second 45 in my head. You're pressing, probably chasing after the second goal. And then after you press, and it's been mentioned in the Twitch pitch about the quick 1-2 passing and the turnovers and things like that, then once again, you're having to go back and defend just as quickly. And then it continues to snowball and snowball and snowball and snowball. It's like, okay, we do what we can do to get out of this jam. All right, let's clear it. Just to kind of catch our breath a little bit. Or we've got possession. It's a turnover. Let's try and do something with it. All right, we've got to press to try and get out of our defensive third, and then you press, and then the pass ends up as a turnover. All these things that you're processing in your head, you're having to process them simultaneously while you've got a lead. You're trying to process all of that information simultaneously. And like I said, you could sense that just because of the field being tilted the way that it was going to be one of those times in the match. You didn't know when, but off of a set piece, Daniel Lovitz finds the gap between two defenders, and I think and then gets it through two defenders, and it goes in, and it's 1-1 with about 25 minutes to go. It was in the 66th minute. And so after having defended from, say, the 35th or 36th minute when Mateus Klick got the yellow card. Let me double check when that was. Matt Klick, 43rd minute. Okay, so it was later than I thought, but still. So 20th minute, 23rd minute, and so on. 30th minute, you're still in somewhat control considering the screen sharing that I did this morning. Klick gets the yellow in the 43rd. You're just trying to get to the half. So I concede the possession at that point. But then you come out of it, and then you're once again trying to make sure that you can hang on and hang on and hang on and hang on. But basically from the 20th minute to the 66th minute, you're trying to navigate with a lead, knowing what happened in the previous couple of weeks, in the previous couple of matches. And I don't know. Maybe you try and find somebody like Dr. Jack Llewellyn. I don't know. I've interviewed folks like Dr. Jack in the past when it comes to trying to work your way through sports psychiatry. But maybe it's just something as simple as just talking it out. Maybe it is. Letting folks know what's on your mind. And I mean, just in a free atmosphere to do so. Not feeling like, you're being dragged into a room and it's just like, oh my God, I have to talk. But no, just free to speak freely. Permission to speak freely. Just something like that. And then, like I said, I always go back to the quicksand conversation from one of my favorite movies, from The Replacements. And what I may do is violate about 19 different copyright laws and see about bringing it in here one time. It's just it's Derek, to a degree, it is Groundhog Day. It is because of what they're facing, and for whatever reason, and like I said, I think that when you have success after, I'm not going to say failure, but when you have a run of form, and we all have this. If we have, and this is the conversation that I have with folks, I want you to have a good day. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care what your day-to-day is like. I always, in my conversations with folks, I want you to have a good day. And if you're having a bad day, what I want you to do is I want you to try and stop that streak at 1. Do whatever you think you need to do to stop that streak. If it turns into 2, okay. Once again, try to find out what you can do to turn that back to a 0. You don't want 1 to turn into 2 to turn into 3. If you're having a bad day, what you want is you want to flip that to 0, and you want to have a good day. And if you have a good day, you want to try to repeat what happened in that good day so you have another one. That's literally what I try to tell folks every time I see them and, they may be troubled one way or the other. I want you to have a good day. Whatever that entails, I want you to have a good day. But when you haven't had good days, and I know that we can use matches as markers, and we sit there and we could do that. If you have a bad day against Philly, what you try to do in between Philly and Orlando is you try to figure out what you can do to stop that at 1. And then if you don't, try to figure out what you can do to stop that at 2. And then flip that to 0, and then you can hopefully have a string of good days, whatever that entails. But there's always that thought, especially with expectations and environment, that if you have a good day, there was something in there, and there's always that thought in the back of your head that you didn't deserve it, that you didn't deserve to have a good day. And so when something goes wrong, if you're trying to stop that streak of bad days, that if something goes wrong, you didn't deserve it, and then you're brought down instantly when your good day goes less. I'm not going to say good to bad. It's just, levels. So if something goes wrong when you're having a good day and something goes wrong, in the back of your mind, you're sitting there going, okay, here it comes. And then you you're working faster and faster and faster and faster to try to fix it instead of taking time, processing, and taking it a step at a time to get out of that funk, get out of that quicksand. So what I may do at some point is completely and totally just break a bunch of copyright laws and credit the individuals. I mean, just sit there and go YouTube fair use. I will try my best to try and find the quicksand speech from The Replacements, where it was a tough loss for your favorite football team, the Washington Sentinels, and Jimmy McGinty, Gene Hackman, brings the players into the the meeting room to discuss what their fears are. And then it goes from, snakes and spiders to quicksand. And that was brought up by Keanu Reeves. And so Keanu Reeves mentions the idea of making a mistake and another, and you feel like you're in quicksand and there's no way to get out. I'm certain, not being with the team on a daily basis, but I'm fairly certain, and I could probably sit here and say I'm fairly confident in this, that it's safe to say that they probably feel like they are in quicksand right now, to a degree. You make that first mistake, then you press, you end up making another. Then you press that much harder and you make another. And it's difficult at times to see the successes that you might have, like scoring a goal in the 20th minute, and go, okay, when's it going to go wrong? Because of the run of form that you're in. And look, you're not Los Angeles. And with what LA has been doing, I mean, the LAG has been schlep rocking their way through the season. Yesterday, for those of you that might have seen SNS or watched it or what have you, Sporting Kansas City beats LA Galaxy. First time ever in league history that a team wins a match without a shot on goal. Because the shot went off of, when the attempted shot went off of Maya Yoshida and into the net. So it's an own goal, so it's not a shot on goal, and there you are. And if you look at that from the two separate perspectives, Sporting is going, man, we got out of there with that one. LAG has to be looking at it going like, man, what do we have to do? And I'm fairly certain that once again, with the expectations in Los Angeles as a comparison, the expectations in Los Angeles, you're reigning MLS Cup champ. No, you do not have Ricky Puig. But you still have, now back, at least yesterday, until injuries, you had Gabriel Peck and Joseph Paintzel. And Dejan Joveljic you did not have. Now you have Christian Ramirez and Miguel Berry. Dejan Joveljic is on the other side now. But if you look at LAG by comparison, you look at what they are going through. I think it's the first time in MLS history that a team has gone 11 without a win to start a season. So if you look at LAG's year, think about what it's like for LAG. 13th minute own goal on Maya Yoshida. And Sporting didn't come up with anything else at the end of the net. Galaxy sure as heck didn't either. So if you look at LAG's schedule, think about the theater of expectations for them. And right now, it ain't there. And you're not there. If you're a fan of any of the other clubs in Major League Soccer, you're not there. Lose to San Diego. Lose at Vancouver 2-1. CONCACAF Champions Hemispheric Extravaganza. You did get a win against Herediano in the second leg to advance. Lose at home to St. Louis. Drew Portland. Drew Minnesota. Lost at home to Orlando. Then you drew Tigres. Lost on the road to Salt Lake. Lost on the road to Tigres. Draw to Houston. Lost in Austin. Lost at home to Portland 4-2. Lose to Kansas City 1-0 on the road. Then, where does it get better if you're Galaxy? Because look at this. I'm going to do this again. Let me see if I can get this to work. Let me see if I can get it to work again. So right now where LAG is, screen share, LA Galaxy, bang. That's the rest of their schedule for the short term. Red Bulls at Red Bulls, Philly at Philly, and then El Trafico all in a week. 3 matches, 9 days, 2 on the road. You fly to New York. You fly to Philly. Maybe you probably stay out there if you're smart. Then you end up with El Tráfico, and then you go to Snapdragon after a week's rest for San Diego. Then you have Cali Classico. Then you end up with RSL at home at the end of May. May is not looking kind to LAG. The next 5 that are there, heading into the matchup with RSL and RSL, that might be the first time that you would end up with anything resembling a winnable opportunity. In 2025, that's another 5 matches. That's another 5 matches if you're LAG. What is that locker room like right now? I imagine you have the same overtones that are there that are in Atlanta. Once again, the theater of expectations being what they are. But after 11 matches, through all of this, Atlanta is still only 2 wins out of the playoffs. And once again, we talk about the forgiving nature of Major League Soccer and the playoffs and such. But once again, you're still 2 wins out of a playoff spot. LAG right now, they are adrift. 3 points, 11 matches, 0-8-3, 8 goals scored, 21 allowed. So think about what the locker room is there compared to the locker room in Atlanta. Expectations, the expectations are there. But the fear of continuing an action is universal for teams that are outside the playoff bar just in general. But if you have that one good thing happen, you're like, oh, cool, we got a lead. There's always that thought in the back of your head that gets louder and louder and louder as something goes on. Okay, when's that other shoe going to drop? And it's going to take more than just the 30. It's going to take 60 minutes. It's going to take 90 minutes. It's going to take 75. It's going to take being dominant over that period of time. Happens once, you hope it rubs off. Jared Smith joining us in hour number 2. Sorry, Jared, I turned this into a bit of a therapy session this morning about theater of expectations and such. So, went through the numbers, went through the stats. I know that you and Abe did the post-game show. And
okay.
Now that you've had a day and a half to think about it, what else is stuck in your head?
I guess it's kind of like what I talked about with Abe after the game, in that when you are on a sheer rock face and you were free falling, it's nice to get a foothold.
Yeah.
When you can find one, but you can't live on that foothold.
No.
You can't stay there, because eventually you'll give out. It's not flat ground. It's not a great place to be. It is a pause.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Saturday was. For 25 minutes, it felt like more. And some of that is the way you set up the team, and some of that's the way you set up to play. But I'm less dead than I was after the media match, although my leg is so I slid in to try and block a shot from Tyler at one point. And I guess I picked the part of the field where there was dirt and not grass, so
yes.
I have just grafted off the outside of my left leg, which is fine because that's the same leg I slide on all the time when I play softball, and I wear shorts when I play softball. So basically I don't grow hair on that side of my leg because I've basically grinded the follicles out of my skin. My leg is just an abomination on that side. It's just scar tissue at this point. But it related to the game. It's just, yeah, it's for 25 minutes you looked good.
Mm-hmm.
You were set up well. Numbers were great. But when you set up that way, you have to hold the ball.
Yeah.
You have to have possession. It's not a 1-for-1, but it's kind of like Miami was, especially last year. When the Galacticos had all their guys set up. they had to have possession. If they're not dominating the ball, they got problems. And you didn't dominate the ball after the 30th minute. I mean, the possession numbers were frankly pathetic.
Yeah,
and
it was
even with
it was what 74% in the second 45 minutes at least
at home.
Yeah,
and there were times where Nashville tried to give you the ball, and it was the only thing, man, that I can think about when I was watching it is that it looked like, and I think Ronnie Dyla talked about it. It looked like they were just anxious. Like once they got it, they wanted to do something quickly with it instead of sometimes, man, just take a beat. And I know Nashville's going to press you sometimes, but take a beat, get into a good spot, and pass the ball back and forth a bit, and just maintain possession and slow down the pace of the game because they tilted the game so hard in their favor. And give Nashville credit. It's something I didn't get to Saturday after the game, but it's something that I will beat the drum on in that the games are not played in a vacuum.
No.
Every team has plans. And you have to respect the fact that another team has a plan, even if you don't like the plan. Like, I don't like the way 2025 Caleb Porter sets his teams up. I think it's regressive. I think it's boring, and it's painful to watch so often.
Agreed.
But other teams have a plan. You don't play your game in a vacuum. You don't just go out there, hey, okay, we're going to play this formation that everybody's wanted because they saw it one time when the game state was complete shit, and this is what we're going to do. Great. Okay, well, we have to have the ball to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and Alexei Maranchuk playing as the 8, you're going to need to have the ball. You're going to have possession. And you know what? Alexei made a couple really pretty passes in that game. He also turned the ball over 2 times in the defensive half that you cannot have.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the reasons why I know he's a very divisive player. I feel like any technical player who's not a speed team is going to be divisive with Atlanta United fans. It's just, that's the state we're in. Go back to Pity Martinez, go back to Barco, go back to Marcelino Moreno, guys who are, more of pick out the pass kind of guys. It's just going to be divisive. I like having those guys further up the field personally because when they try things, you try it in a safer area. He will occasionally try things, and it's a little riskier to do it. He wasn't even just trying things with some of those turnovers, though. They were just bad balls. It wasn't even like he was trying something amazing. It was just not good. David, I'm too old to slide in softball. No, I finally bought padded leg coverings for the lower half of my leg for when I slide. Because the longest time I just slid in shorts on dirt, and then whatever happened, and I'd spend the entire season just opening up the same wounds, and then wrapping them and just letting them heal for a week. But it's going to be interesting to see what you do this week against Chicago.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Chicago is in a rebuilding project. It's a full-on rebuild. You have given Greg Berhalter the reins. Now, they pulled a 0-0 draw out of Orlando. Frankly, I thought they were better than Orlando at times in that game. Not the whole game. Also, they played down a man, but they tried to pop up and snake a goal out from Orlando a couple times. And it took Gillespie making a couple of really good saves for that not to be embarrassing. But they're going to be missing Chris Brady, their starting goalkeeper. You'd like to think that matters, but Atlanta's got to put shots on frame.
Yeah.
You know how many shots they had after the 30th minute, John?
I believe that
shots on goal. I'm sorry.
I believe that would be 0.
1.
1.
I believe it was 1.
Okay.
You cannot.
Well, you've got to have possession. You've got to have marked.
But
time.
if you're gonna play that way with Alexei Maranchuk as the 8, yeah, you're gonna have to have the ball.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to dominate possession. And you're gonna have to be on top of things. And you not only did Nashville snatch the game from you, the thing that really aggravated me, John, is the fact that the way Nashville reacted to going down a goal. Because they go down a goal. Atlanta was better than them. First 25 minutes.
Absolutely, they were.
Really liked what we saw. Like, it felt like after that first goal, it felt like, oh,
okay,
yeah, if we're gonna dominate possession, and Nashville's not the same Nashville team they've been in the past.
No,
This isn't
no.
Gary Smith's Nashville anymore. Like,
this is BJ Callahan doing his thing.
yeah, and BJ Callahan's installed more possession and ability for that team to play, and I like it. That's not to say that Gary was wrong. It's just a different style.
Right.
But it felt like after like that first goal, you're like, oh, if we can keep the ball, this feels like a really good matchup, and styles make fights.
Mm-hmm.
But then Nashville responded really well.
Yeah.
They got punched in the face. They didn't hang their head.
No.
They fought back.
Mm-hmm.
They took the ball. And the end of the first half wasn't great, but you also, I think you gave up like one shot or two. You gave it 2 shots in the first half. Neither on goal. I think both of them were just kind of like weak headers where, and credit to Derek Williams and Luis Abram, they put Sam Surridge in a coffin, and left him there. Mm-hmm. They did a great job on Surridge. Alex and I have been complaining about XG, and Abe and I talked about it actually after the game, John, or during the game, John.
Yeah.
That at the end of the first half, the Nashville had like 0.84 XG, and we were talking about like XG is a very weird stat. Now where I have landed on XG personally is when you get north of 2, you have my attention, because when you get north of 2, for me, that means you're creating a lot.
Yeah.
Like, unless you've got 2 penalties stacked in there, that means you are creating a lot. And they generated 0.8 in the first half, and but none of it felt dangerous. It was like wayward shots or like looping weak headers, and it didn't feel dangerous. So like, yeah, they had the XG advantage in the first half, but it didn't feel dangerous. I thought, okay, you got to halftime. They pushed. Now what should happen is in the second half, you go in, you talk about it, you come out, you put your foot back on the ball, you put your foot on their throat, you go get a second goal, you kill the game off.
Yep.
It never happened.
No.
It just, yeah, man, I don't know. It never happened. And Nashville was just better than you. And dude, I don't know how you, I don't know what you do. Because that's one way to, like, what you did is one way you can go about your life. Defensively in that structure. You're gonna need to have more of the ball if you're gonna do this. But I don't know, man. Like, you got the goal, you finally broke the duck. I felt like it should have been a very freeing moment of, cool, we got our goal. Let's go get more now. Now that's out of the way. Brooks Lennon is a menace for even admitting that was a shot. We gave him credit. We're like, because and I know a lot of people had different opinions on whether or not it was a shot or a pass.
Yeah. It looked like, if you want to take it from his perspective, it was scuffed and was going wide of the far post, but Miggy happened to be there and have the presence of mind.
It was so perfectly placed to Almiron. Also, 2 things. 1, Brooks picks his head up.
Yep.
He doesn't just fire it. Secondly, he puts it so perfectly to Almiron that I'm like, that. He looked up and then put it so perfectly on a string to Almiron that I'm like, that's a pass, right? That has to be a pass. It was too pretty. He scuffed his shot perfectly, is what happened. As I said, if I were him, I'd have taken that to my grave. You could not have tortured that out of me.
Yep.
I'd have been like, man, you love that pass right there? Yeah, man, that's a great pass. Good job.
Yep.
John, you would have had to torture that out of me. You would have had to. Yeah. I don't know how you would have gotten that information from me.
Yeah, after you retire, 5 or 10 years. Hey, well, you remember that when Miggy was second all time, and you ended up getting the all-time assists lead for Atlanta United. What really happened there? Yeah, it was a scuff shot.
Exactly that. But yeah, man, it's just I don't know how you you could come out and do a similar thing, but dude, you could come out and try and play that against Chicago, but you have to dominate the ball to play this way.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not going to hold up because you didn't hold up against Nashville. Also, that game could have been 4-1. Brad Guzan was huge at the end of the game. And like I said, it was a foothold on the side of a sheer cliff face.
Yeah.
That foothold is nice because you are no longer in a terminal free fall. But if you don't put chalk on your hands and put a put like a carabiner in and resteady yourself, you're going to go right back to a free fall.
Yeah.
How you respond to that foothold is what matters. And Chicago, again, very weird team, very much in a rebuild, but a road game you should win.
Yeah. Well, and I was, and I was discussing things in hour number one, and I was breaking it down from a bunch of different perspectives, but it's, for me, from a mental aspect. If you have that run of bad days, nothing's right at work, computers go down, you can't get anything done, boss is hounding you, you're like, well, I'm trying here and it's not working. Then you go back to work the next day. Same things are happening, nothing's getting accomplished, you're getting frustrated, you have all of this expectation on you from your boss. Then you come back for the third day, and then you have your day starts out really well. The donuts were great. If you're a cruller guy, hey, I'm the only guy in the office that likes crullers. Oh my God, crullers are here. This is fantastic. So your day starts out great, and then you have something happen, and you're always waiting for your boss to hover over your shoulder or whatever, the competition hovering over your shoulder, and you're sitting there going, okay, well, when's the computer going to crap out on me? Well, when's the power going to go off? When's the power strip going to screw up my computer and I've got to go get a new computer? You always have the expectations and what happened behind you as an element of what is happening as you're going forward, trying to correct things. And for a lot of folks, sometimes you're waiting for that moment, and it's like, okay, I did something great. I did something positive. Now, when's it all going to go wrong? And it's pushing that to the side, which may be the hardest thing to do sometimes from a mental aspect, not from a performance aspect. You could still be grinding, but that mental aspect is always there that you have to try and find your way through so you can have that first good day to work toward the second good day and work on that streak on the other side of the mental aspect.
It felt like it still feels like there's so much anxiety.
Yeah.
Because when they would get the ball, you're thinking, okay, cool. They turn Nashville over, string a couple passes, and break out.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. It was like everyone's trying to be so perfect or worried about making a mistake. And look, Ronnie Dial talked about it repeatedly about, I want them to play free. I don't want them to think about mistakes. I want them to think about, don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes will happen. You have to try things, though, and you have to play free and play mentally loose.
A lot of times that's easier said than done, though.
It is, but after I don't know how else you convey that to people after, what are we, 12 games in, 11 games in?
Yeah.
If you can't get them to do that, and you've tried different tactics, like, look, this week was a fun week for them. The mood was light, which I think you have to have sometimes. You can only push so hard.
Yeah.
Before you can only push so hard before it becomes too much, and you start making guys, kind of buckle.
Yeah.
At some point you got to let them breathe.
Yeah.
You just have to, and I think that was this week, but man, I don't know. Like, if they're still playing this tense and this tight, if you've tried different methods, I don't know what you do.
Yeah.
Because at some point, something has to give. And I tell you what, John, the longer we go through this, the more the summer window, gets a lot more interesting to me.
No question.
Because a lot of this, I think, is mentality.
Yeah.
Of guys. I don't think it's raw talent, because I think man for man, I still firmly believe this is an incredibly talented roster.
Nope. Yep.
Man for man.
No doubt.
They've got talent for days.
Mm-hmm.
They're good soccer players, but it's not clicking.
No.
Pun intended.
Yes.
For click.
Yeah.
But it's not clicking. So you've already gone through one manager last year where you felt like you had the talent, but it wasn't clicking.
Right. Yeah.
For a year last year where you made so much money in the summer window.
Yeah.
You might lose money this window, but you might have to change guys. You might end up having to change guys out because you have to change mentality. Yeah. Honestly,
because what else is there left to try? I guess is probably crazy.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
and if you're trying different tactics to get guys to believe, to get guys to relax, to get guys to embrace it all. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It can't be like it was Saturday. You cannot get that goal. Look like you were absolutely about to start running riot.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, I told someone, John, as we were leaving, that they played like they were up 7-0. Or 6-0, which is what Nashville was last week.
Yes.
I think Nashville got to 7 before they gave up 2 goals at the end.
And it wasn't even that close.
But no, it wasn't. But they played like they were up 7-0, like that freedom. And I don't know, man.
You have that one thing go wrong.
But no, it wasn't really one thing. They just didn't. I agree with you. Like a lot of times it has been the one thing. Like it was the penalty in Orlando after you survived the initial burst, and Philadelphia was like not being able to clear the ball out, and then you just felt like, oh man, we just didn't get it. I don't know what the one thing was in this game.
Yeah.
I think it was almost just like they were like, cool, we got the goal. All right, we're good. No, you're not good.
No.
I understand this is, for me, it's mentality is different. Because one of the things that I agreed vehemently with, I agreed with Gonzalo Pineda about was his philosophy defensively.
Yeah.
Because his philosophy when he had a lead was you have a 1-goal lead. How do you protect it? You make it a 2-goal lead.
Mm-hmm.
How do you protect that? You make it a 3-goal lead.
Yeah.
You got 1 goal after you've gone over 250 minutes without scoring a goal. How do you fix that? You go make it a 2-goal lead.
Yeah.
You don't sit there and go, okay, we're good. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You have 1 clean sheet on the year.
Mm-hmm.
You needed to push, and you didn't. John, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I completely.
I mean, I'm not trying to dump on the squad or the staff because I think they're working.
Yeah.
But it's not doing what you needed to do, man.
No.
And I don't know how you fix it.
No.
Go ahead.
No. It's that's the beauty. It's the beauty of today is that I want folks to get it out of their system on Monday and Tuesday so we can look forward and so that nothing is hovering. That's why it's almost like reaction Mondays or whatever they are. It's whatever if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. If it's average, it's average. If it's whatever it is.
Man, it looked like we were about to have an amazing.
Yeah.
Saturday, middle of the day Saturday, it felt like we were about to have an amazing day.
Yeah.
Like it felt to me like, oh, we are about to cook. And then it didn't.
No, and like I said, I don't know if the yellow to click late in the first half was something to stare at because they're like, oh, he's calling that, or
I had no problem with the way he called the game. I thought he was a little loose and weird with the whistle at times,
Yeah.
but
I think
but
there were moments of being uneven.
yeah, but he didn't impact the game because there's a couple of like if we're going to talk about that, and that's fine. There's a couple of counters Atlanta generated because they fouled a guy hard and got the ball turned over. They just didn't do anything with it.
No,
and that's on them.
Yeah, and I am still.
Yeah, he was fine calling the game.
Well, and I'm still waiting for moments where you stick up for your teammate. That's another thing.
So am I,
yeah.
Because there's a moment in that game where I think it's Pedro gets trucked in the goal mouth.
Yeah,
like Jacob Schaffelberg's going for the corner.
Yep,
or going for the header. Schaffelberg, I thought it came off Schaffelberg last. It goes out for a corner, and Atlanta has to defend a corner down a man.
Cleaned him out.
He did, but also, where the hell was everyone at?
Yeah.
Because Schaffelberg goes through the back of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, Schaffelberg cleans him the hell out.
Yeah.
And there's nothing.
Nope.
No.
Standing in somebody's grill. No.
No. Like your teammate just got knocked to oblivion. Like a shoulder in the back. And nobody did a damn thing.
No.
I think they stood there for a second. I think somebody said something to the ref. But
I think it might have been Brad.
Maybe, but okay, someone else say something.
Yeah.
Someone else do something.
Yep.
I'm tired of watching it, John. Like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of watching guys get absolutely obliterated with no one sticking up for him.
No payback. No.
Yeah, and look, this isn't to say that like, oh man, Atlanta's getting targeted. No, it's not that. It's, man, this is what sports is though. You stick up for each other. And I'm really just exhausted. Good morning, Alex.
Yes, morning.
I'm exhausted watching it, man.
Yeah.
That like, I'm exhausted watching somebody take a shoulder to the back, and everyone just kind of like stand around and complain about it being a corner. Like, Schaffelberg goes through it hard.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that Schaffelberg was being dirty. I'm not saying that. So don't get it twisted.
It's the consistent part of his game, though, against Atlanta. We have seen
Schaffelberg plays hard. Nashville plays hard. They're going to play physical. BJ Callahan came out of Philly originally.
Yeah.
He's a Philly OG.
I tell you.
But the fact that he just trucks your guy, goes out for a corner, you can get mad about the corner. I don't care about that.
No.
But when he like puts the shoulder into your guy's back, be in his face.
Where are you?
Shove him off. Make something out of it. Because I'm tired of watching it, John.
Yeah.
I'm tired of watching guys get hit. I'm tired of watching guys get trucked. I'm tired of other teams getting in your face and you're not doing anything.
Yep.
This doesn't mean you go out there and you turn it into a murder ball like a Peruvian 4th Division Sunday League.
No.
But man, you're sending, whether by not sending a message, you are sending a message.
Yeah.
That you're soft.
Yeah.
That you're not going to fight back.
I
don't know, man.
No, I'm with you. And it's just to me, it's one of the more frustrating elements of the entire run is that where are you in sticking up for a teammate? And
not where you should be right now.
No, and it's just you want to see the team dynamic be the team dynamic. You want to see you push my guy, you're pushing me too. It's not the whole it's not the whole you put one of mine in the hospital. I put one of yours in the morgue. It's not Sean Connery in the Untouchables. That's not what I'm asking for.
No.
But is it just look, stand up, stare at somebody, and go, that's not going to happen. Push around and make sure that you're not going to be pushed around. The message continues to be that you can be physical against Atlanta United, and they're going to stand there and take it. Short of Brad, yelling and making sure that everybody knows where Brad stands on the issue. We don't know where everybody.
But Brad's in goal. Like a lot of times, he's not going to be getting over there.
No.
Like he can go call somebody anything between a child of God and a sewing machine.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, he's not going to be a part of that conversation.
Right.
Because he's a goalkeeper. Like, that's the nature of the job.
Yeah. But give me a field player that's going to, or give me field players in parentheses S, close parentheses, that when something like that happens, you're going to sit there and you're going to challenge somebody. It's going to be a finger in the face. It's going to be a push in here, and make the referee and make the referee crew stand up and pay attention that, okay, everything's been elevated now and we've got to, keep an eye on things. And that the message to the rest of the league doesn't get out that we can do this and get away with it and get into their heads on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm tired of watching guys
Yeah.
I'm tired of watching them look like they're kind of fine with everything. And you can't be fine with it all.
No.
And somebody has to, for lack of a better word, John, somebody got to be a jerk about this.
Well, that's I mean I think that you chose a more G-rated word than the word in of itself. It's like, look, if you come after one of us, you come after all of us. That's what I'm hunting for.
Yeah, and like I said, none of this is to imply that anyone in the league is dirty.
No,
I don't think guys are intentionally trying to get other players hurt.
No,
but it's a physical game, man.
Yeah.
It is a physical game. It is a physical league.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be willing to get stuck the hell in.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, you do.
And you gotta stick up for each other.
Yeah.
And right now I feel like that's not happening.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, so I got into the discussion this morning about quicksand and dark clouds and not wanting to make a mistake after you make a mistake and all these kinds of things. And I think it plays a part in it because you're afraid of once, you get on that run of
if you're scared, get a dog.
Right. And that's true. And so that's kind of where I've been with all of this.
Maybe one that's a little more more kind of stick it to you than Rowdy is, although Rowdy's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Rowdy is kind of scared of his own shadow at times.
Yes, that is true, and he'll be more than happy to Bart during watch-alongs for 3 hours at a run. So so we had that this weekend. Other stuff that stuck in your head from the match that we have not addressed this morning here on a group therapy #Reaction Monday.
So I was kind of being a jerk about this Saturday night, and I'll continue to be a jerk about it because the only time that Atlanta United 2 ever shows up in my social media feed are when people are dumping on the team for whatever reason. But I'll tell you, man, my feed goes quiet as a church mouse whenever they're actually doing well. But I'll give the kids credit because the 2's got 2 points Saturday night in Huntsville.
Just don't talk to Steve Cook about the
penalty shootouts. Never ask Steve about the shootouts.
No.
But man, those kids are playing their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
Like week in and week out.
Yeah.
They are a delight to watch. Yeah. It's not perfect.
No.
Steve Cook will be probably the first one to tell you that it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's very correct in that assessment. There's a lot they can do better.
Yeah.
But man, they fight.
Yeah, they do.
They play hard. They do not screw around. Those kids do not mess around.
Nope.
And it's very lovely to see.
Yeah.
Because to go from watching a team, John, that just looked anxious in the first it looked anxious for 60 minutes, excuse me, to a team that went down 2-0. And then Gabriel Wise, and then I believe it was Mezzafarro.
Yep, Big Sal.
Off the set piece.
Yeah.
To fight back, and this isn't the first time they've done it.
Nope.
Again, the only time I have seen the twos consistently pop up in my feed this year was the Philly game, which is the bad game they've had. I think they lost 5-1 in that game.
But yeah, I mean, it was
a game was that was just it was a terrible day at the office.
Yeah.
But again, that's the only time they've shown up in my feed this year. That's the only time I've seen people talk about them is when they can dump on the twos. But twos do something right, never hear about it, never see anything about it. So whatever.
Yeah. Here's your lineup, by the way. Go
ahead.
Jaden and Net. Your back four: DCQ, Ephra, Big Sal, and Nick Sesok. The two in front of them: Ronan Wynn and Cooper Sanchez. Your three attacking mids: Moises Tablante, Javi Armas, and Gabriel Wese. And then Togashi was your striker, the point of the spear, going up against Hunt City. Hunt City, by the way, Alan Carlton is now in Huntsville playing for Huntsville.
Yeah, he scored.
Yeah, and so evil Alan Carlton got a goal that made it.
Yeah, Alan's a good kid.
Well, I mean, but I probably took him like 5 months to grow the facial hair that's on the.
Good. Let him. You know what? Fine. Let him be. Let him be Dirty Dom.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it, man.
Yeah.
Alan's a good kid.
Yeah. So he scored in the 42nd to make it 2-0. So it's 2-0 at the break. Gabriel Wese scores in the 45th. Sal scored with 30 to go. And you end up at 2-2 at that point, and they fight through it, and you end up going 5 frames, and Jaden Hibbert came up with the one save he needed to come up with there in the shootout. And so the twos,
great job.
Yeah, the twos go on the road. They still have never lost in regulation in Huntsville. Still have never lost in regulation in Huntsville going up against Hunt City. And Hunt City's toward the top of the standings in the Eastern Conference in MLS Next Pro.
Hunt City's going to be fine because Hunt City's going to be fine. I promise you, because we talked to Will about it. They hate Chattanooga more than they hate Atlanta. Like we're just kind of like, I think it's decently cordial.
Yes.
They do not have those feelings towards Chattanooga. It is antagonistic to the extreme.
Yes. Chattanooga FC right now leads the Eastern Conference. They're 3 points ahead of Red Bulls and Revs, 4 points ahead of Huntsville at 14 points after match week 7. So Huntsville City has a match in hand, 4 points back at the top of the East. And the twos
still lost a shootout to Red Wolves.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Then the twos.
Oh, why are you reminding of this? I don't know, because it makes you mad.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's fun to poke the bear.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Oh, Abby dropping a bomb. Facial hair probably weighs more than he does.
Carlton? Yeah, probably. But kid's good. Good player. I hated that he left here. I don't know if it was a matter of he wanted to go strike his fortune somewhere else.
Yeah.
I hated that he's not here this year. I was a big fan of what he was becoming. Speaking of someone who was rough and tumble, like Carlton will.
Yeah.
He might be wiry little dude, but he might look like he made of pipe cleaners, but
yeah,
he'll get up in your face.
Yeah, he'll come at you at 135 pounds soaking wet, and you'll sit there and you go, "Oh, that," and then no.
Has he got a bag of marbles in his pocket to get the 135?
Yes, and or Abby, in Abby's case, the facial hair to go Dirty Dom.
I hate that he's not here anymore. Yeah. I'm happy for him.
Yes,
that that he appears to be doing well.
Yes, and that's the key. But yeah, Alan's a kid that you don't cross. I mean, if you see, he's got some sandpaper in him, and that's the kind of stuff that you want in a situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sandpaper,
and that's what I want more of from the first team. The second team has shown you.
Yes,
and the second team's not out there trying to start a fist fight with everybody.
No,
but they're getting stuck in, which is what I'm asking for.
Yeah. # sorry, kid.
Also, and I know it is a common thing to demand basically that your entire second team basically be just academy kids. It doesn't work like that. Because as we have seen so often with some of these teams, when you field a team that's just kids, what you end up with is a team that is missing senior leadership that can deal with rough times. So you have to have those mixes. You have to have a Javi Armas who is 25 years old but feels like he's 35.
Yeah.
Having veterans like a Nick Sisak in there or a Carmichael when he's in there.
Yeah.
And then you get guys like that and like Moises Tablante, who's been really good this year, who might be, and Tablante might be insane, like genuinely insane human being.
I mean, if you can survive the backflip that he butchered and just come up and step out of it and still be okay, I think the answer to that may be yes.
He tried so hard to like break a bone.
Yeah.
But you need like that little bit of insanity, I think. And he's a guy who I think is 24, 25 years old, but you bring in guys like that for the same reason you had Nick here a couple years ago. And you had Firmino come in and do enough to make first team squads and score goals for the first team. It was great. But you bring those guys in to try and make something happen.
Yep.
Anyway.
No, you absolutely do. So, the sandpaper is kind of what we're staring at. But yeah, I mean, you look at the twos, and it is recommended to keep an eye on the twos, just on general premise. But you look at Wesse, who comes up through the academy, Cooper Sanchez through the academy, DCQ and Efra. Then you go, and who was on the bench? Aiden Torres was on the bench. Caden Moore was on the bench. Braden Dunham, who really needs to be in your spot shadows when you're watching the twos, considering what Braden has. If you watch Braden Dunham, and he navigates the day, and we hear this from Steve Cook a lot. He navigates the day pretty much the same. He could be on top of the world. He could be mad at a hornet and everybody, but he still looks the same, and his demeanor is still the same. And
Tom Glavine.
But seriously, if you think that when you look at someone like a Braden Dunham, who is very Tom Glavine-ish, okay, that's a sign of weakness. No, it's not. That you think that, he just acted that way when something, happened one way or the other emotionally, and it's like, no. You think you can take advantage of somebody like Braden Dunham? Braden Dunham is not afraid to stick into a tackle when you least think that, I didn't anticipate that from him. Well, it's because you don't know what you're getting into. And you haven't done enough intel and got enough info on a lot of these kids coming up through the academy where left back U and GKU are coming up full bore, and now it's working its way into the midfield now. It's working its way forward when it comes to what we're seeing from the academy.
It has to. It's a constant thing. This is it works much in the same way that recruiting does in college football, John. Meaning the second you stop doing it, you are dooming yourself. Even in the best of times, you better be recruiting.
Yeah.
If you ain't recruiting, you ain't winning.
Always be BC recruiting.
Yeah.
Always be recruiting. Let's see. So let me take the tour and find out what else is going on. Club Leon's expedited CAS hearing begins today as they're looking to try and become expedited into the Club World Cup because they have that matchup against Chelsea that is supposed to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And right now, it ain't got Club Leon in it. It's the FIFA is planning a playoff between LAFC and Club America. If their decision to remove Leon because of multi-club ownership involved in a tournament based on its multi-club rules breach, and so because of a Grupo Pachuca owning both, and so keep an eye out for CAS and figuring out, okay, is it going to be Leon or is it going to be the winner of LAFC and Club America? And I would love to know when they're going to schedule this matchup to try and determine when LAFC and Club America will be playing to figure out who gets to sub for Club Leon if they don't get into the Club World Cup, because LAFC ain't got no place. You look at their schedule between now and the time that the Club World Cup would happen. Obviously, the expedited hearing starting today. It would have to be this month because it sure as hell ain't going to be next month. Because there is no place in the schedule for this to happen without it being like in a midweek someplace. In
and even then, how do you make the schedule work? How do you make your roster work, man?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the that's something to keep an eye on here with this expedited hearing because okay, that's cool and all, but if you got it all figured out, because here's May for LAFC. Game on the 11th, game on the 14th, game on the 18th, game on the 24th, game on the 28th, game on May 31st. Then you have the I think it's the international window to start things off in June, and it would probably have to be there because it ain't going to happen in May. Then you have the 13th, and then June 25th and June 28th, you have regular season matchups in Major League Soccer. But then that creates a problem because if, let's just say that something happens where the Club World Cup calendar comes into play, then you'd have to reschedule, I believe, those matchups in Major League Soccer, because if you would be in Club World Cup, that means that you would be occupying the space of Club Leon on June 16th, which, you're 3 days after the matchup against Toronto. And then your group stage would continue after that, as I sit here and I'm scrolling. So I'm scrolling through a schedule. You'll have to pardon me. Then it would be on the 20th, a Friday. So you're in Club World Cup mode. You'd have to take the matchups that are there for you on the 24th as your third group stage matchup. So all of those matchups, you'd have to push that to the side, your two matchups in Major League Soccer on the 13th and the 25th, and have those rescheduled later on in the schedule because you would be in the Club World Cup. So when are you going to play this, the play-in game alleged? And then if you do, then you have to reschedule two matches in Major League Soccer that you would be playing in June, but you can't because you're in Club World Cup. It's chaos,
Let me tell you. But let me tell you how much they are not going to want to hear. Well, we just have to rotate guys. Where are you going to rotate them? You're going to rotate them in league because you roll into Club World Cup with a second team. Somebody's getting an email.
There's going to be an email and an envelope. It's so yeah, and the distribution, by the way, once again, a billion with a B. The FIFA Club World Cup winner to earn up to $125 million. Now, that's not bad. So it is group stage. You get $2 million for a win and $1 million for a draw per club. You get into the round of 16, it's $7.5 million. You get into the quarters, you add a little over 13. You get into the semis, you get to add 20. So literally, you go all the way through all of this, you could end up with like $125 million if you get to the title game and make your way through the Club World Cup. I don't know where this money's coming from, but it does exist somewhere. So they claim that you could get up to $125 million if you push your way through and get through all of this. But yeah, LAFC, they're waiting. Oh, okay. Here we go. News from David Ornstein. Ancelotti and Real Madrid have reached an agreement over the terms of his departure. So it looks like Carlo is heading out the door, and he might be heading to Brazil. Reported back.
I'd imagine so.
Headed back on the 27th, set to leave for the head coach role on an initial one-year deal until the end of the 26 World Cup. He had signed an extension in 23, which runs until 26. Verbal agreement now in place, pending formalities. An official announcement confirming Ancelotti's exit expected before the end of the league season could come as soon as the following Sunday's Clásico with Barcelona. Madrid must then decide who will lead the team at the Club World Cup. Xabi Alonso's the leading external option. Director of football Santi Solari seen as better placed than Castilla's Raul Gonzalez or Juvenil A's Alvaro Arbeloa as an internal choice, described as the president's dream by the head of the CBF, who's been in talks with him since March. So it appears now that it is a verbal with Ancelotti that he is heading out the door. Finally, it's like one of the worst-kept secrets, but Carlo Ancelotti out. Trent Alexander-Arnold confirms that he is leaving Liverpool, and Real have to pay compensation if they want him for the start of the Club World Cup. They're prepared to offer £500,000.
I mean, I'm available too if you want to give me 500,000 pounds.
Liverpool
Won't do anything.
Liverpool,
I won't do anything for you, but I'll take the money.
Yeah, they LFC have not released Alexander Arnold from his contract, so Real wants him. But yeah, Real's like, well, how about 500,000? And Liverpool's like, no, well, we'd like more, please. So I think that's probably going to be your sticking point of the whole freaking thing. Is it convertible to GAM? That is a good question, David. Is it convertible to GAM? I don't know.
Don't know.
That is a definite question. And apparently, Leeds United's chairman Parag Maratha told BBC Radio that they're going to keep Daniel Farke as manager, considering that he won the championship and recruited well. And they were wondering if they were going to keep Daniel Farke as they were getting promoted. And literally everybody was like, well, okay, so you got promoted. What about, well, he might be out of a job. And everybody's like, what? So Daniel Farke looks like he's going to be staying at Leeds. You mentioned the twos. You mentioned Atlanta United. Before we get out of here, a couple of things. Coming up in an hour, it is Soccer's In Session Live. We're going to catch up with Tino Hernandez, the head coach at Calhoun, because today normally would be the beginning of the quarterfinals in the GHSA playoffs. And it's supposed to be all the matchups on the girls' side are in the quarterfinals today, except in Northwest Georgia, where we had rain issues on Friday, where Calhoun was set to play Johnson Gainesville. We got 27 minutes into the match, and then Mother Nature basically said, screw you and the horse. So to finish up their round of 16 matchup at this afternoon in Calhoun, it's the end of 12 plus 40, so 52 minutes minimum are played in Calhoun later today. I think it's a 4:30 start. So if you're near Calhoun, go watch. Johnson Gainesville's fans, by the way, they represented. So Tino Hernandez is going to talk about the last 4 days preparing a field for 52 minutes minimum of soccer that was supposed to have been completed on Friday. And if he wins, the winner of Johnson Gainesville and Calhoun has to play tomorrow in the quarters, which means that if they win, they play on Friday in the semis. So they will have played 3 matches in a week, whoever wins today in a perfect world chasing after a championship. So Tino Hernandez, Calhoun coach, is going to join us for Soccer's In Session to start at noon. So we got that.
This is fine.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we're going to talk to him about what it's like to navigate 4 matchups. And the Unified team, by the way, the Unified team is back at it.
Unified team's undefeated.
Yeah. And they have not lost in Mercedes-Benz Stadium since 2019, by the way.
Hey, it's a fortress for somebody. That's all that makes me happy. My standards of happiness have dropped significantly.
Yeah, well, Marty Jellamy and the crew, they've done great work. And it was great to see Brad and Jay Fortune. Jay caught up with the Hoff at halftime. Brad was there in the broadcast with me. Will Riley was on the bench, hanging out with the guys a little bit. You got to see Chris Henderson, Garth Lagerway. A lot of folks were there. Ronnie Dylo was off to the side with his staff watching. But no, it was really cool. And for everybody that stayed, and I legitimately, I would say it was probably north of 500 people that were watching.
It was a good turnout. Good job, y'all.
Very, very cool to see that happen. So
good on y'all.
Yes. And so we'll go through gossip, rumor, and innuendo and what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it in a second. But by the way, our friends at the Marshall Islands, Lloyd Hours, technical director of the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, he's going to be on with us tomorrow at a time TBA because he's over in London. They made their Kickstarter campaign number. So, and they made it with 2 weeks to spare, but that doesn't mean that you should stop spreading the word about this campaign. So they made their minimum number for the Kickstarter campaign, and that means in mid-August in Springdale, Arkansas, you will have the Outrigger Challenge Cup with the Marshall Islands, Guam, Turks and Caicos, and the U.S. Virgin Islands all week there in Arkansas. So the tournament is a go. So very, very cool about our friends at the Marshall Islands. And by the way, if you meet a certain marker when it comes to your donations, you get an SDH scarf as a part of the deal.
Ooh.
So like I said, we got a handful. So if your level of donation was a certain point, you get the SDH scarf, the SDH Marshall Islands collaboration, which is on the other side of this door. You get those too. But yeah, the week of August 14 through 16, Springdale, Arkansas, at Springdale High School. It's going to be the Outrigger Challenge Cup with the Marshall Islands playing their first ever 11v11 tournament as the last national team on this planet to get a program started. And they're going to kick things off in mid-August. So very, very cool stuff there. Yes. Oh, and Abby said Luke Brennan, Noah Cobb, and Latte Lot for a bit. We're also there for the unified stuff. So very, very cool. What else is on your mind before we get out of here?
I think everybody else has gotten on this train around the league, and if you haven't yet, there's still room on the caboose. Stop calling Vancouver a sneaky good team. They're just a good team.
They're just a good team.
Yeah. Like now it's just insulting if you do that, because now they're just straight up good, man.
I mean, Jesper Sorensen, I'm sorry, Coach of the Year.
So far, yeah. And I'll tell you, John, I was not sure when they fired our favorite little Italian psycho.
Yeah, Vanni Sartini.
Yeah. I was not 100% on board with it because I liked the work he had done.
Yeah.
Jesper Sorensen has taken them to the next level. And that is why those people are the ones that are higher, that make those decisions, and not us.
Yeah, strange how that works.
I know. I'm always terrified that you're going to Philip Fulmer yourself.
Yeah. No, you don't want that. All right. So
no one should want that.
No. What's your schedule for the rest of the week?
Oh, I'm about to go out of town. You are not going to have me.
Okay. Well, then I'm glad you got in your shots today.
Yeah, well, that's why I had to come and complain about things today, because everything is tough.
Yes.
And
and that's why we try to talk it out of everybody.
That's why we try and talk it out.
Yeah, and have everybody get everything off their chest on Monday and Tuesday, and then just focus on the week that will be coming up. Like I said, Lloyd Hours, Technical Director, Marshall Islands. He's going to join us at some point in the show tomorrow. Don't know when because he's in London. All right, let me get through gossip and what to watch, and we will catch up with you soon, my friend. All right, there goes Jarrett. It's always fun to have Jarrett drop by. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Manchester United ready to join the race to sign £60 million rated Brian Mbeumo from Brentford. Arsenal have inquired about signing Rodrigo from Real Madrid. Manchester City also interested. City also plan to advance their interest in agreeing to a deal with Forest for Morgan Gibbs-White. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Arsenal and Villa eyeing Dusan Vlahovic. Juve expected to ask around £42 million for the Serbian. Everton prepared to rival Manchester United to sign Liam Delap. United prepared to make an offer for Barcelona and Uruguay's Ronald Araujo if they make Champions League. Leeds have made Marseille's center back Leonardo Balerdi one of their top summer targets, three-letter paper. Real Madrid sent scouts to Bournemouth to keep an eye on Dean Houston and Milos Kerkesh. Spanish Giants also targeting Arsenal's center back William Saliba under contract with Arsenal through 27. West Brom's, they want Tottenham's Ryan Mason to become their new head coach once again, three-letter paper. Fulham's boss Marco Silva is a contender to replace Ange Postecoglou if he is sacked after their disappointing season. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Remember, you do have Monday Night Football later this afternoon. Here on the network, we're going to be at Brookwood and Buford on the air a little before 6 with all your brackets and all the scores. Drew Dickinson and I will be at Buford for number 1 versus number 2 on the girls' side. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. In addition to Brookwood and Buford on the network, USA has Crystal Palace and Forest Deportes. ESPN Deportes has Girona Mallorca. Fox Deportes has Genoa and Milan at 2:45. Universo simulcasting the Premier League along with NBCSports.com. FA Youth Cup finals going on right now. Villa and Manchester City on ESPN Plus, along with Girona and Mallorca on La Liga. Paramount Plus has Genoa and Milan as well in Serie A. English Women's Super League is starting right now. Brighton and Hove Albion against Arsenal. Canadian Northern Super League is on ESPN Plus at 10 o'clock with Vancouver and Halifax. Remember, once again, back at it, top of the hour. We take you through all your brackets, let you know what happened, set everything up. Bat and leadoff, Calhoun head coach Tino Hernandez to talk about the last 4 days and the matchup against Johnson Gainesville. What he learned in the first 27, what he hopes to learn in the next 52. We're out, back at it once again, top of the hour. Great to catch up with all of you. Glad you're here once again. Back noon Eastern. Soccer is in session. Playoff Daily live because we're insane. Literally, that's where we are. We are insane, but that's nothing new to everybody. Great to see everybody once again. I love the conversation that we get to have on a daily basis, and we'll keep doing it at noon on the high school side. Back at it again tomorrow at 9:05 Eastern. And we'll catch up with Lloyd Hours from London about the Marshall Islands Kickstarter project and the Outrigger Challenge Cup and all the other things. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho platial. Into the show. That means I get to do this. See you in 50 minutes.